Yay, I'm back. Good. All right. So I've talked about the marriage between Christian imagery and the interlacing style that the converts, potential converts, would be familiar with. Talked about that. Talked about that. Yes, yes, yes. Moving on. Okay. Oh, yes. So what we have this top part, the corners, the four corners here. We have a design that may be suggestive of the influence of what we call a Greco-Roman key, but not a key that opens a door or anything. A key is a repeated, usually regular linear form. So we can see this kind of going over and over again. If you've spent any time in a Greek restaurant, you'll see this somewhere. It tends to be more popular with Greek stuff these days than Roman, but that's fine. But these pieces here on the corner may be in fact influenced by Greco-Roman keys. Okay, so I told you that there were animals here, so let's look very carefully. And if you look, so I'm taking this as a, if you look very carefully, you can see a bird, right? And the birds, in fact, are very long-legged and long-necked, and they've got teardrop-shaped bodies. So we can see it right here, right? After their long necks, and they're also obviously multicolored. Their beaks, you can see, kind of close in. It's very kind of hard to see, but their beaks are kind of closing in around their legs, right? So it's very naughty. It's very twisty. It's very naughty, not naughty, but naughty. So again, there's that animal motif. In the center here, we do have this kind of snake serpent motif, right? And I know you might think, oh, serpents are associated with evil. Not all the time, right? So here we have this serpent motif. And this should again remind you of the cloisonne metallurgy process from the Merovingian looped fibulae. Okay, so then we have the portrait page. The portrait page, if you'll notice, so this is a portrait of St. Luke. And let's look at what he's got here. So he's sitting here. He's got a parchment. He's writing something on the parchment. He's sitting on a bench, a very elevated bench. If you look carefully at the elevated bench, it's got that interlacing on it as well. He's got his feet on a stool. Above him is a winged bull, which is a symbol of St. Luke, and the winged bull seems to be holding a something that looks like a book. Probably suggestive of the gospel. In comparison to the cross carpet page or even the incipit page, this is very plain in comparison to them. Yeah, so it's very straightforward. His symbol is the ox, not a winged ox, but an ox. I don't ask me why it's winged here, but it is. So he's wearing this very rich and purple red robe. What's noticeable in particular about the red robe is that instead of the shading and the modeling that we were used to with the Greco-Roman depictions of the human body, right? We would have shading and modeling to show that he does have legs underneath here, and he does have, a bum here, or, some heft to his chest or whatever. We don't get shading and modeling here. What we get linear designs instead to make those suggestions of a body underneath. So it's not about 3D illusionism or shading. It uses the linear patterning to express a same idea, but it does it obviously very, very differently. Okay. Yes, so St. Luke. He's obviously got a big halo, and so does his symbol, the ox. I've already mentioned the interlacing motif, which you can see here, and you can see here, and you can see on his robe as well. So that creates unity. There's a term for you, right? Good. So the portrait pages have Roman influence, but obviously they're doing their own thing since they're not in Rome anymore. Okay, so then we have the incipit page. The incipit page means it begins. So it means the first words of the um, of the gospel. Okay. So if we look carefully, what do we see? Oh my gosh, I see interlacing, right? You will also see some animal motifs. I'll get into those in just a moment. Um, so incipit, it begins. So you want to think about the text. They're doing this text in a very detailed way. The text actually becomes a kind of decoration. So you want to think about what the purpose to that is, right? In terms of like looking at it very carefully and to appreciate all the detail and effort that goes into the creation of the text, right? Will hopefully lead you or lead the reader to a deeper contemplation of what the text has to say. What's of great note, what I like here is actually we have this word here, NIAM, but it's created not with ink, but with visuals, with negative space. So we have these little tiny red dots all around, right? And it's the negative space where the red dots are not are what create the words here in this situation. Okay, so let's look for the animal motifs since we really like those. So what I really like about this one is it's a cat. So I've got a cat here, and inside the cat are actually the bodies of 8 birds. This is fantastic. Kitty cat, and then he's swallowed a bunch of birds, and he yeah. So I'll talk. He actually acts as a comma. So his whole body acts as obviously it's very long, but acts as a comma as well as a border for the text for the incipit page. We also have these pinwheels here. You can see in the cue for the quo, which create a great sense of movement, which of course is further. That movement is further emphasized and exacerbated is not the right word. I'm running out of vocabulary. Further emphasized by or enhanced is the word I'm looking for. Enhanced by the different colors, the really broad palette that's happening there. There's a lot of suggestion of movement here. So yeah, lots of birds. We've got a blue heron. You know, he's got this shape that go all the way up the 90 degrees of up the border of the text. Really quite beautiful and impressive. Oh my gosh, the man hours that must have gone into the creation of this piece. Insane. Okay, I believe that is all I have to say about the Lindisfarne Gospels. I hope I've not forgotten anything. I think I've got everything. Yes, wonderful. Okay, so thank you very much.